Matthew has strengthened slightly with winds of 120 miles per hour. Category 3. Hurricane warnings have been extended northwards to Fernandina Beach, Florida, and hurricane watches have been extended further north as well to Edisto Beach, South Carolina. So to recap, the warnings quickly are as follows, as I fade the Skype team in there in the background. We'll talk to them in a moment.
Yeah.
Southeastern Bahamas, including the Inaguas, Mayaguana, Acklins, Crooked Island, Long Key, and Ragged Island. Central Bahamas, including Long Island, Exuma, Rum Key, San Salvador, and Cat Island. Northwestern Bahamas, including the Abarcos, Andros Island, Berry Islands, Bimini, Eleuthera, Grand Bahama Island, and New Providence. North of Golden Beach to Fernandina Beach, and Lake Okeechobee. Hurricane warnings for all of those. Hurricane watch, it's in effect for north of Fernandina Beach to Edisto Beach. Tropical storm warning is in effect for Chokoloskee to Golden Beach, Florida Keys from 7 Mile Bridge eastward, and Florida Bay. Tropical storm watch is in effect for north of Chokoloskee to Suwannee River. We're joined in this hour by Lee, Hank, Cesar, David, and Isaac. Hello all.
Good.
Yes,
Hello.
And you said the initial intensity for Matthew is 120. It's actually 115 still.
They've put it down again.
No, it's still 120.
It's still 120. They didn't put it down. It was 115. The 8 o'clock advisory.
Yeah. Oh, they have, haven't it? Yeah. They have kept it at 115. Well, how about it? The initial forecast advisory they put out just moments ago said that they had upped it to 120, but they've made a correction. So the storm, according to them, remains at 115, which I find quite strange because Matthew appears to have intensified. But the National Hurricane Center saying that it stayed at 115 miles per hour. How very strange, but makes little difference in the grand scheme of things. The hurricane warnings have been extended. Rightly so, I should think, and the Eye of Matthew is now located near the central Bahamas. Let me try and get a position for you. It's 23.4 degrees north, 76.4 west. That's 125 miles south-southeast of Nassau, and 325 miles southeast of West Palm Beach, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So, Hank, since you've just joined us, what's your latest information, if you have any for us?
Well, I haven't really been watching Matthew these past few hours, but I will. I'll take a look at it, and it looks like it's improved since I last left the live event. So, yeah, I'd still be concerned about the system, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't matter if the intensity hasn't changed. You should still watch the system with extreme care. I'm gonna pull up the latest forecast coming from the NHC. Not all too much has changed. Still predicting a very close brush or a landfall in Florida as a major, and then doing the curve and not predicting a tropical storm in about 5 days, but that's 5 days. The general northwest movement should continue, and I would assume that by at least Friday morning, looking at this, we could see a landfall, probably in the Space Beach area around Cape Canaveral.
Space Coast.
Space Coast, excuse me. Because if you look at it, that part of the coastline. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me today?
You tell me.
I don't know. That's what I was asking myself. So if you look at the geography, really, if I can actually get there, you can see that Space Coast is really that area that kind of juts out. So this is what may cause to actually make a landfall. It's probably going to stay offshore. It's probably going to stay offshore. These islands. That doesn't mean it will stay offshore. That means it could stay offshore.
In any
So-
case, at the very minimum, you're looking at significant storm surges for those areas. I'm still concerned about Daytona Beach because possibility of it striking there at high tide,
Yeah.
and could be 5
Yeah,
feet
so
above normal.
Landfall location could be from anywhere between Miami and this is in Florida, from anywhere from Miami to at least the border with Georgia.
Or further.
So, well, I'm talking about Florida specifically, but further down the line, it's a little bit more blurry. Why does that keep happening?
Not a guarantee that it will make landfall there.
That's the thing. It's not guaranteed it will make landfall,
But I would say
even if
it's virtually guaranteed that we'll receive hurricane conditions somewhere along that coast of Florida, from West Palm Beach northwards to Jacksonville area.
Regardless of a landfall, we're still going to see, hurricane force winds, maybe major force gusts.
But watching this, don't forget, it's important. Anywhere in that white area of the cone is the center of the storm, could pass anywhere over that cone, the eye of the storm. So it could move inland, or it could stay offshore by a good 100 miles or two.
I don't know about 100 miles, but, it could stay, offshore, but not far enough
60, 70 miles.
Yeah, but it won't be far enough offshore that you won't see impacts from this. That's the thing with this storm. Looking at latest satellite, I might actually want to pull up RAM. Actually, here's RAM right here. Refresh the page, and there's the first hiccup. And let's see. Latest from RAM is showing a system that is
development.
Really,
you can't argue with that.
The storm.
It's showing its development quite quickly, because last time I checked, it was around this area.
Oh,
It wasn't looking that great. Right now, it looks like it's actually getting its act together. Looks like on radar it's kind of like a little bit of swirly, and looks like some dry air may have been trying to get into the center, but the recon data suggests that the air there is still very moist, so it's not actually dry air entrainment. Speaking of recon, let's see what they're doing.
What are they doing?
They're near the center right now.
Oh, they're in there.
Yeah, they're
About to get into the center.
They still have flight level winds, and they already found a pressure of 968, so that would suggest at least 960 yet again. At least 960, and well into major force. Well, at least at flight level, it's well into major force. That's what's going on with that mission. There are any other missions? I don't know if this one's actually going into the storm. I would assume so, but we've had other missions that just observe the upper levels and all that sort of
Well, whilst we're here and someone's asked a question, shall we talk about what the models are predicting in that loop?
Sure, why not?
I mean, the NHC is virtually predicting a loop now.
Yeah, pretty much. So, actually, let's zoom in slightly more. So, let's see what they're saying for this loop. The GFS has a very interesting solution for this loop. Puts the storm up towards Florida, landfall in Florida, barely, then does the loop, weakens the system throughout the loop, all the way through that loop it weakens, and then it basically becomes nothing. Oh, whoops, I think I went.
Comes back down into the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, but it's probably not going to be nothing by the time it's already here. This is over Miami, but don't worry, this is a very weak system, even if it's still a system. Near the Gulf, as David said, and actually moving towards Veracruz is a very interesting solution, I must say.
And it could develop in the Caribbean.
Well, it depends on the wind shear and the dry air.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so it's way too early to tell what can happen with this.
And ocean heat content factored too, but next week sometime. But
I remember the other disturbance too, David.
Yes, two discern Nicole and the one behind Nicole.
Yeah, there's another one just approaching the Caribbean. So.
And I think, just sidetracking, I see there's another system on the radar too.
Yeah,
that just comes off Africa.
The one that's approaching.
That one, and one in the West Pac, East Pac.
East Pac. Oh yeah, that thing is probably not.
That's going nowhere. It's just staying out to sea. It's not going to affect anyone.
Yeah, That's not really a point of concern.
Yeah.
But it's at least something to mention for at least 30 seconds. And which tab was I on? That one. Okay. So here's going back to the models, the whole loop scenario. Here's what ECMWF says for it. Looks like a landfall on the Space Coast. Near possibly a landfall in Charleston. And then it doesn't take the whole loop, but it weakens it. Kind of stalls it in this area and then shoots off towards the northeast. So kind of like a bounce scenario. Like kind of like a ball bouncing. It moves up and then it hits the floor, and the floor is like at least right here, and then shoots off. I guess that's one way to look at it. I think
And that's out to 240.
Yeah, that's how as far out as the Euro goes. So, basically the best idea we got for that. I think those are the only two models saying the loop. Others are just saying the jump, like the bounce thing. I don't know. The CMC looks like it does it much farther east.
And the NavGem?
NavGem takes a staying over the Florida Peninsula, basically. Landfall near. That's at least. Oh my gosh. That's just north of Fort Lauderdale. Over Lake Okeechobee. Up the peninsula. Re-emerges into the Western Atlantic. Weakens the storm, and then just kind of. It looks like it does the bounce, and then starts to move up towards northeast.
And that's out to 144, and that's updating.
Yes, the frames are still coming out, and this is the 18Z, which I think it's really late for the 18Z to still be coming out.
If you've got any comments or
And
questions
HW
for us, by the way, start your message with Force13, all in text. That's the same way to get through to us on Facebook and Twitter. Search that. And you can also add Fool13 on Skype. That's FOOL13.
Yep. So here's what HWRF says for this system. It says that it will not quite make a landfall in Florida, but then again, this is from the 18Z. The 0Z should be coming out pretty much any minute now. And this thing rides up the east, not the east coast. The Carolinas, not quite a landfall, and just keeps the system up towards northeast. That's Nova Scotia right there. So, interesting solution. JFDL says that this system will move, through the Bahamas, landfall in Florida. I think it's around Vero Beach or just south of there. Vero Beach area. Through the coast of South Carolina, and then continues to move off towards the northeast. Looks like it might take a little bit of south dive and make like a very shallow, little bounce thing. It's not actually a bounce. It just on the track it looks like kind of a bounce. I think it's just one way I look at it at least. I don't know if we have time to go through the mesoscale models because they're far and few between, but sometimes they can shoot out something kind of interesting.
Yeah.
What about the cyclone vorticity?
Cyclone vorticity. I can pull that up for you.
The yellow one?
Yeah, I can pull that up real quick. I don't want the shear tendency. I want the vorticity is
No,
right
the
here?
one on tidbits. It's the yellow image. I know this one on the tidbits.
Yeah.
Just can't think of the link.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what you're.
Have you shown us the intensity models? The intensity.
Intensity.
Yeah, sure. Let's take a look at the intensity, guys. This is actually updated, so that's good. Some take it to a Cat 4, some don't. I know. I'm pretty sure NHC takes it to a 4. Let's just check real quick. Yes, they do. Okay. So most of the models keep this as a Cat 3 up to 48 hours, and then after that, it just steadily, goes down an incline, down a decline. Excuse me. So that's what's going on there. The spaghetti models all over the place because of this
goodness.
How the track changes.
Now, well, between this right here is basically anywhere you see in this big, kind of cluster of models. That's going to be happening in these next 2 days. Past that, all of these just lines just scatter all over the place. The lines are the models. Those are farther past 3 days and going into at least a week out. So yeah, some move off towards northeast, some move towards Florida. Now here's the GFS model, taking into Cuba, as I said earlier. Interesting scenario, to say the least. But it cannot be ruled out. Quick update on Nicole. Apparently, it's nearing hurricane strength. I don't really see how. I guess I could take a look at RAM. Maybe it would appear better there.
Yeah, that
it's
could be the
possible.
next hurricane.
Well, small storms do tend to
Whilst
be more
you're waiting for
organised,
that,
much better than bigger ones.
whilst you're waiting for that, just to give you a quick weather update in Florida. Still no sign of Matthew's rainfall arriving in Florida yet. There is a small rain shower that's about to reach the Fort Lauderdale area. So you might get a little bit of a drenching, a short one, pretty soon. Further north, there was some rain in the St. Augustine area, which was causing some flooding advisories. There's actually some flood warnings that have just come into effect, and I'll have more news on that in a moment.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm just looking at some other things while RAM is loading for Nicole. This is the intensity guidance for Nicole. Only some of the models take it to at least a Cat 1. Ignore this model over here. So yeah, that's a little bit cuckoo. But the vast majority of the models keep this thing at tropical storm status. I believe that's what the NHC said about Nicole, and yeah, basically like it's peaking right now. Though I wouldn't be surprised for them to upgrade it to hurricane when the 5 o'clock comes out. So let's look at Nicole on RAM, which has been just eerily slow for me today, which has been a little bit of an annoyance, but I'll live. And while that's loading, let's check on Recon, what they're saying. Looks like they have passed through the eye, and they found 958.8 millibars. 958.5 millibars at the lowest.
Oh,
So,
958. Interesting.
So that's really dropped.
Intensifying. Starting
Yep,
to.
962 down to 958.
So I just want to tell everyone about the latest flood warnings now. So firstly, the flood warning is cancelled for the Little Manatee River at Wimauma, I believe it is. But the flood warning has been extended to the following rivers: the Myakka River at Myakka River State Park and the Horse Creek near Arcadia. Flooding on the Little Manatee River has ended. Flooding on the Myakka River and Horse Creek continues for those parts of Florida. And also, there's flood warnings that have been issued for the Peace River at Bartow, Zolfo Springs, and Arcadia in Florida. Minor flooding likely in those locations. I think that's all.
So here's RAM for Nicole, and you can see how the cloud tops have been warming, though it looks like some other convection is trying to burst up. I don't see where they got 70 miles an hour from. I could see 60, but I don't know about 70. By the way, here's Matthew over here, if you were curious. So, yeah, I mean, 70 mile an hour seems a little much. 60, I would be completely fine with. I'd agree with it. 65 might, I'd be like, whatever. 70, I think is pushing it. But it's the NHC. They've done some worse things this year.
Oh, that looks like a weird one. I'm not sure they'll still have it at 70 miles an hour in 6 hours, but unless it does something radical. We'll see. Just read out city by city what the warnings are across Florida and Georgia now. So we'll start north to south this time. As you look at whatever's on Hank's screen, it's still there. And actually, of course, into South Carolina are now the warnings as well. So Beaufort is covered by the Hurricane Watch, not Charleston yet. Savannah, Georgia, Hinesville, all Hurricane Watches, and Jacksonville is now on the very edge of a hurricane warning. I'm not sure whether it's technically included in the hurricane warning or not, but it's on the very edge of the hurricane warning, and Jacksonville Beach is certainly under the hurricane warning. Gainesville, it's a tropical storm watch, same for Ocala, and Daytona Beach, a hurricane warning, and that extends across all those places to the south: Deltona, Sanford, Orlando, Titusville, Cape Canaveral, Melbourne, Palm Bay, Vero Beach, Fort Pierce, Stewart, Okeechobee, Jupiter, West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and the rest of Broward County as well, inland as far as the Everglades. And then further south, Miami, Homestead, Key Largo, Marathon, all under tropical storm warnings. The Everglades City and Naples under a tropical storm watch, but the rest of the county is under a warning, as is Monroe County. Fort Myers under a tropical storm watch, and the ones I missed out, Sebring and Leesburg under a tropical storm warning. Tampa and Sarasota and the rest of the Florida West Coast is under a tropical storm watch.
Mm-hmm. So, just looking at some of the comments real quick, they've just been whizzing by. So, if I don't answer your question, I apologize. There's just so many going right by.
Yes, it's fast moving.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people want to know what impacts are going to be in Florida, specifically like the Orlando area.
Everyone always wants to know about Orlando. We need more people from Orlando in the room.
Yeah, we have a lot of people.
We only have one on the team. Where are they all hiding, eh? On the chat, that's what
we don't have.
They are afraid of us.
That's right, Cesar.
We have a member from Orlando. Well, someone here from Orlando, and a team member.
Let's talk about it. And Lake County, which is in the vicinity as well.
Yeah. So basically, in Orlando, you'll probably be seeing some, heavy rains, obviously, some gusts up to hurricane force, maybe, I don't know how strong exactly. Depends on how close Matthew comes to downtown Orlando. But in general, assuming that it does ride the coast, like the NHC is saying, you should probably you'll see some heavy rains. Obviously, some squally weather, some winds gusting probably up to hurricane force, sustained in tropical storm force, and yeah. There could be some power outages. There could be some downed limbs. As far as the whole tornado threat with this system, it's really hard to tell the tornado threat with a hurricane. The only way you can kind of determine how bad the tornado outbreak from a hurricane will be is determining the size of the storm. For example, Ivan was a very large system when it made landfall in Alabama and caused the biggest outbreak produced by a hurricane ever seen. So the storm's probably going to be smaller than Ivan, so it probably won't produce that big of an outbreak. I'd say, I think Hermine caused a decent.
A few warnings came up in the Orlando area for Hermine. That's right.
Yeah, Hermine was it might be about.
Oh, Hank's being drowned out by some background noise there.
I think it'll cause some water spouts.
I thought you were saying I was being drowned out by my mic. My mic's not the best quality right now. But that's besides the point. If you haven't evacuated, if you're up towards the Jacksonville area, you still have time. Daytona Beach, maybe. If you're in anywhere between Port St. Lucia and Miami,
stay put.
I'd stay put, yes, because evacuating this late might not be the best idea.
That is, unless you're under a mandatory evacuation, in which case you should be long gone.
Yeah, you should be gone by this point. And I see reason why they put out the hurricane warning so easily is because in Florida you really don't have. Excuse me. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Just kind of threw up in my mouth a little bit. That's weird. Anyways. I understand why they did the hurricane warning so early. It's because, Florida's a peninsula. You don't really have much. There's only really one way to the mainland, and that's it. And if you're in Miami, it's a long way to get there, especially with bumper-to-bumper traffic. That's just, I don't even want to imagine how bad that would be. So I understand why they did it earlier than they normally do. And a lot of people asking from Tampa.
Yeah, someone's saying mandatory evacuation starts in San Augustine tomorrow at 6 a.m. apparently.
San Augustine.
That would true or not.
That would make sense.
It would make sense considering Jacksonville Beach are doing it as well.
People are asking about, Tampa, Punta Gorda, Fort Myers, Naples. I think I even saw a Tallahassee comment. All of those cities, you should probably just stay put. You'll be fine. You'll get just some rain, some gusty winds. Maybe not Tallahassee. Maybe you'll just have some some showers, and that's it. Anyone in the Panhandle, you should be fine. You've already had your hurricane. Well, sort of. So yeah. Questions.
Latest satellite imagery showing a few more frames, and yeah, the southern part of the eye wall looking a little bit lackluster, but developing, and it's certainly looking more interesting now, and maybe some intensification is going to happen overnight.
Well, I'm looking for comments. David or Lee, you want to say anything?
They're over there somewhere.
Somewhere else. 6 Words asks, it's a Cat 5 right now? No, it's not.
No,
barely,
definitely not.
Barely a 3 right now, so it's the chance of it becoming a Cat 5 are limited at best. It already
Cat 4 will be reached again.
Yeah, Cat 4 like 130 miles an hour. That's what the NHC is saying. So
yeah,
it's
still being predicted by them.
Yeah, this storm controversially has already been a Cat 5.
A lot of people want to know what the black area means. It's the most intense part of the storm, basically.
Basically, that the blacks.
If you want the answer in one sentence, there it is.
Blacks and grays, and even if they're really intense, some whites. Those are like the most intense thunderstorms because they indicate how tall the thunderstorms are and how cold cloud tops are. Basically, the colder the cloud tops, the more intense the thunderstorms. So, and if you have that, gray ring all the way around the eye, that means you got a pretty powerful hurricane headed towards you, or just headed towards somewhere. Let's see. Anywhere along Florida, just depends. If West Coast, you should be okay. East Coast, you should have already evacuated. If you haven't already, especially around the Miami area, just stay put. If you're
Someone
up
wanted
towards
to know about Sunrise, Florida. Just figuring out where that is. Broward County. So that's a hurricane warning right now. I believe it's inland a little bit. So hurricane conditions are possible. Not necessarily certain, but you should be preparing for those hurricane conditions.
If you haven't evacuated already, I just stay put, and you should be okay considering you're inland, sort of. So you should be fine. Everyone is asking.
Fine if you prepare for it, that is.
Good Lord, these comments are flying. Laura Fernandez asked, when is Hurricane Nicole coming? We don't have.
Well, it's not coming.
Well, we don't know. It's an outside chance that Nicole could become a hurricane, but right now it's a 70-mile-an-hour tropical storm.
Oh, you mean the chance of it becoming a hurricane?
Yeah.
I thought they said the chances of it coming to Florida. I thought that's what they said, but I misheard.
Okay, just flying by at the moment.
Oh yeah, just watch it.
Guys, sorry for interrupting. I'm going to leave the stream, but I will not leave the stream without saying goodbye.
Of course.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
So it was a pleasure to be with you guys, and please take care. Really, please take care.
Mr. Mangless, I did not say it was a Cat 5. I said it had a limited chance of becoming Cat 5. Everyone's asking, what time.
Get back to the National Hurricane Center's track chart, Hank, and we'll talk through it.
Yeah. So, basically, in the Miami area, at least tomorrow evening or late tomorrow afternoon is probably the closest approach. Further north towards the Space Coast, probably Friday morning.
Well, let's see there. Fort Lauderdale, it'll be around 6, 7, 8 p.m. It will be the closest approach. West Palm Beach a little bit later. Around midnight, it will be probably making its closest approach to the Jupiter area. And then as it moves further off to the north, Vero Beach at around early hours, maybe daybreak. And then towards Cape Canaveral.
Early in the morning.
And Titusville at around, 9 or 10, maybe.
Yeah. those asking about Jacksonville, probably Friday evening.
Friday
Carolina,
evening.
it's still not certain, especially for North Carolina. South Carolina looks like they could get hit a little bit harder. I was looking at some of the rainfall forecasts. They're setting up to 20 inches. And, 20 inches in South Carolina, that's not bad. Especially, we saw what 20 inches of rain could do in South Carolina last year with the whole, fire hose plume coming in from Joaquin early October last year. So, 20 inches of rain in anywhere really was bad news. But, at least you can see what happened in South Carolina. Oh, good Lord. I can't answer all these questions, guys. I'm sorry.
When that happens, it's best to generalize and talk about general things.
I'm just going to... We're pretty much just picking and choosing at this point.
Yeah.
Fort Lauderdale, late, pretty much around midnight, like Nathan said.
Davenport and Haines City.
Miss Mary Shortcake asked, oh my gosh, should we evacuate tomorrow evening? You should evacuate this evening if you haven't already, especially if you're up towards Jacksonville. If you're close to Miami, stay put, like I said.
Davenport is in Polk County, so the conditions there will probably be hurricane at worst, but it should be tropical storm conditions probably, and in nearby Haines City.
You should be fine if you live in Davenport. That's like smack dab in the middle of the state.
That is unless the storm deviates. There's a lot of lakes in that
Sorry
area.
to interrupt.
Oh no, you're fine, Lee.
There's a question coming from somebody on my Skype about the Hurricane Matthew. He's saying, hi, about Hurricane Matthew. I'm under hurricane warning. Can you please look at Cooper City, Florida on Google Maps? I'd like to know how bad I'm getting hit.
Cooper City.
Yeah.
That's right out just to the north of Miami.
Broward County. That's gonna be.
Yeah, we talked about.
It's southern Broward County, so over there you'd probably expect hurricane conditions at worst. That's certainly what you should be preparing for. But I expect that unless the storm deviates west, it's probably not going to be all that bad. But if it does deviate west, you'll be the first to hear it here.
Yeah.
Right, I'll let them know then.
Hopefully they were watching.
Looking for comments, not about Florida.
Too. I think there must be.
Well.
Lord. While you're looking at that, I'm going to pick up on a question and what schools are closed. Latest
a lot
on
by the
Central.
sounds of it.
Yes, I'm just opening up, and I'll have the information in about a minute.
Yeah. I've gotten a lot of questions about Lake Mary. That's to the north of Orlando.
Right next to Sanford. Hurricane warning in that area.
Yeah, the further west the storm goes, the worse conditions you'll have. But if it does what the NRC is going to do, then you'll have some rains, heavy at times. The hurricane force.
Yeah, sorry, that was mine. I just moved, so I have the information when you're ready on what schools are currently closed.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
just to finish
West Coast, Jordan, West Coast, you should be fine. I can't answer all these questions.
Ethan
guys.
wants to know about Deltona. They're under a hurricane warning as well, so hurricane conditions to be expected there. Over to David.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got my granddaughter in the background. So, okay, Polk County, POLK County Public Schools, Thursday, October 6th, Friday, 7th. Both schools and district offices will be closed. Both days the schools will serve as shelters for those more directly impacted by Hurricane Matthew. PCPS said after school activities and evening adult classes are also being cancelled. The decision to close isn't binding upon charter and private schools. These schools should be contacted directly for more information. The following schools will serve as shelters: the Alta Vista Elementary Schools, Haines City, Rich Community High School in Davenport, Spook Hill Elementary School in Lake Wales, and the Marion County. All schools will remain open Thursday, but will be closed Friday. All evening activities Thursday, Friday have been cancelled, depending on whether make-up athletic games could be played Saturday. Volusia County. We have all Volusia County schools will be closed Thursday and Friday due to Hurricane Matthew. You can follow Volusia County Schools on Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah,
Go.
No, go ahead. You were talking.
Bethune-Cookman University has issued a mandatory evacuation order for all student staff effective 6 p.m. on Wednesday. A shelter is available to students who do not have transportation. Campus is expected to reopen Sunday at noon. The Embry, yes, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University closed Thursday through Saturday. This closure also affects the Daytona Beach campus, Worldwide Headquarters Building, University Administrative Offices, several Embry-Riddle Worldwide campus locations within Hurricane Matthew's forecasted path along the eastern coast of the United States has been closed. The International Academy in South Daytona will be closed for classes beginning Wednesday 5 p.m. through Saturday, and business will resume on Monday. Stetson University has cancelled all classes, and that university will be in contact with the students and admin staff. Orange County.
Sounds like you're getting rained on, David.
Sorry, the microphone. All schools, including the campuses of Orange Technical College, closed Thursday, Friday, and all activities planned for the schools on and off the campus are also being cancelled, beginning Thursday, lasting through Sunday. University of Central Florida will let out classes at 3 p.m. on Wednesday. And that's the information at this point in time.
Okay, let's read out what you are to expect if you're in these areas. Storm surge, it's 10 to 15 feet for the Bahamas. If you're in the US, the water could reach the following heights above ground if the peak surge occurs at the time of high tide. Sebastian Inlet to Savannah River, it could be 5 to 8 feet. Deerfield Beach to Sebastian Inlet, that's 3 to 5 feet. And Virginia Key to Deerfield Beach, 1 to 2 feet. Rainfall in the Bahamas, 8 to 12 inches expected, isolated up to 15. Coastal eastern Florida, 4 to 7 inches, isolated up to 10. And the Florida Keys, 1 to 3 inches, isolated up to 5. Hank, have you got some news?
Yes. My history teacher's just gone to labor. Other than that, yeah, she was due today, so I guess. Anyways, news actually regarding the hurricane. Can't answer these comments. I'm sorry, just too many. Recon looks like it's gonna be taking another little thing into the eye. That was loud. Yeah, I've looked at this website too much today. I need to stop. But actually, now I'm on this website, might as well look at shear tendency. Shear is very low over the system right now.
Has been for a while, and it's pushing that wind shear away over western Florida. In fact, could we possibly go back 3 hours and compare that then to now and how it's changed, maybe? If we just step forward, it stayed about the same.
Yeah, there's not much change.
Sorry, what was that, Lee?
I'm just saying the person that was asking me that question is actually watching the stream I've been watching since the 3rd of October.
Non-stop? Oh dear.
Yeah, non-stop. So they're really keen to keep up to date. So
Well, I can't stay up that long. I don't know
it's
how
really
they
good. That
managed it.
sounds really good.
But so the reason why all the shear why the storm is pretty much surrounded by shear to the east, west, and north is because there's an upper level ridge over the system, and that typically happens with these pretty strong systems of Matthews intensity. They form kind of a high pressure over them, and that kind of puts out it can shear other systems close to it, like what's happening with Nicole, or what was happening with Nicole. Excuse me. It pushes the shear, external shear, away from the storm, and kind of makes its own little, environment. Helps to keep out dry air. Can't really have an effect on sea surface temperatures, but it's typical of strong storms to see this happen. So, if you're curious about like why the storm is just so luckily being put in this low shear pocket, it's because of the upper level ridge. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to show from this area.
Uh-huh.
I want to go back to the RAM for Matthew, and that's going to take a day and a half to load. So, let's take a look at what else is going on. So we have that one disturbance east of the Windward Islands. Excuse me. Not a very good chance of development. Yesterday it looked like it looked pretty decent. Now it's lost all of its convection. That's what's going on with that. Nicole, nearly a hurricane somehow. And in the East Pac, we just have one little, area of this area of disturbed weather. Moving at sea. Not much else to say. Let's go back one more. And this will take, not too long. Okay. But looking at that one frame of what I can see, it looks like Matthew's actually gotten a little bit better organized. If we can stop right about here. Yeah, it's looking like it's getting there, definitely. But this system has just been up and down, up and down, up and down ever since this thing.
That's the latest image right there, is it?
Yes. But ever since this storm became a controversial Cat 5, it's just the intensity the eye has been in quality has been up and down, up and down, up and down. Like 1 hour you may be thinking it's like, oh, the storm's eye is developing pretty well. We could see some strengthening, and then the next hour it just gets cloud filled, and then the next hour clears and clouds, clear and clouds. It's just been back and forth, back and forth. This thing has just been a headache ever since it really was designated as an invest in the central MDR.
It's starting to look the part again there, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but then again, what it looked like a couple hours ago, it looked awful, and it looks good now. And in the next 4 hours, it'll probably look awful again, or maybe not. That's just speculation due to the patterns.
It will sooner or later.
Yeah. So, Lord, I'm not gonna bother anymore. If there's probably like a legitimate question somewhere in there. I just can't find it because there's just so many questions about impacts everywhere in Florida. We've been over that in quite good detail, but for new viewers, you're on the east coast of Florida, you should have evacuated already. If you're in the Miami area, you really should have evacuated already. If you're in Jacksonville, I guess you still.
If you evacuate, if you decide to evacuate.
Yeah, well, you should. If there's a major hurricane coming towards you, you should evacuate.
Miami's not under a hurricane warning, though.
Oh yeah, true.
Probably
but still,
a storm warning for Miami.
The guy I'm talking to is getting very concerned
if you're
for his neighborhood.
Yeah,
right.
If you're still in Jacksonville, you still got time. Anywhere along, the Space Coast, down to at least Fort Lauderdale, and up to Jacksonville, you should have already evacuated. Orlando, if you want to evacuate a little bit further west, you're fine. Tampa.
Yeah, so far looking at some wind speeds, the winds are getting a bit brisk, slightly. Fort Lauderdale at 16 miles per hour right now. I think it's in miles per hour. Gusting to 23. It could be knots. Pompano Beach is at 16 miles per hour. Those are the strongest winds reported so far, and obviously it's not particularly fast, but it's a bit breezy there now, and that will continue until the onset of the storm.
So yeah, anywhere, and I know people are asking along the Gulf Coast. Gulf Coast,
But I
Florida.
don't know whether that one is because there's a little rainstorm passing through the Fort Lauderdale area. But anyway, as you were.
Yeah. Anyone along the Gulf Coast of Florida, you should be okay. You've kind of already had your hurricane for the year. Let's see. I'm gonna try and find out some comments that actually, I could answer. Yes, you should evacuate if you're in Jacksonville.
Alan
see.
White says, "Do I need to evacuate from Gainesville? Probably not."
No, that's too far inland to really evacuate. Actually, I guess I could answer this question from a guy who has an interesting username. Clorox Bleach asks, guys, should I be worried if I live in Florida? Depends where you live in Florida. If you live along the East Coast, then you should be worried. If you live on the Gulf Coast, you should be okay. If you
need a bit more information.
Yeah, if you live in the Panhandle, then you're completely fine. Yeah, it just all depends on where in Florida you live. But yeah, 6 words asks, how many miles across is this hurricane? I believe hurricane force winds extend at most 40 nautical miles from the center. This is still a fairly small hurricane, but as it moves a bit further north,
what about the tropical storm force winds? How far do they go out?
I'm not entirely sure. I should know. I don't.
National Hurricane Center's update will tell you.
Yeah, probably.
I'm quite curious to know that because of Nassau in the Bahamas, which is now only 125 miles from the center of the storm.
Yeah.
And picking up on some of the comments, Southwest Curve, Matthew, possibility. We'll go through Florida twice, possibility. And how much inches will the flood be in Miami? Storm surge would be the key point. And
minimal storm surge
high
for
tide.
Miami, but rainfall totals, you could actually see on the National Hurricane Center's website what they're expecting. Let me try and find it myself for you. Rainfall totals in Miami expected to be somewhere in the region of 2 or 3 inches.
That's not all too bad. If you have at least 5 inches of rain forecast, then I'd be a little concerned about flooding. If you have, like in South Carolina, where there could be 20 inches of flooding, I'd be very worried.
So expect that they say that there is 150 nautical miles of tropical storm force winds.
Okay, that would make sense.
According to what you're showing us there. And that would mean that that Nassau, it was probably already experiencing or about to experience tropical storm force winds. So things are going to get pretty bad on Nassau from here on in, and it's going to be much worse in about 12 hours' time.
Yeah, so here's Nassau right here. You're getting a pretty decent spiral band right there.
Yeah, that's
I do believe that Josh Morganman is in Nassau right now, so it'd be interesting to see what he finds there. I would assume, speaking of people out in the field reporting, I would assume that a bunch of Weather Channel people are up and down the east coast of Florida. If they say if Cantor is there, get out. But anyways, yeah, Nassau, you should be seeing, if you haven't been already seeing tropical storm force winds, then you should get them within the next at least 3 hours, maybe even a little bit less than that. As far as hurricane force winds, according to the track, let me pull the track up real quick. You should have the most, at least the eye wall of the storm by at least by daybreak tomorrow. So that's when the eye wall should pass, and after that, conditions should begin to improve. Throughout the night tonight, conditions will continue to deteriorate. And I saw images coming out of Nassau. It's basically a ghost town, so that's good to see people getting out of harm's way. Question is, where'd they go? Maybe they caught a flight. Maybe they caught a boat. I don't understand how they got a boat. I don't know where they went, but it looks like ghost town, so that's good.
And
So
the
we have-
reference to, sorry, Hank, just cutting in. Evacuation numbers, we're not sure how many people have evacuated. Reference to the police on the bridge, it could be a roadblock preventing people from getting onto that island. Houston, what do you reckon, Hank? It'll be fine. Is it under threat?
Houston, Texas.
Yep.
Houston is nowhere near the storm, so they should be completely okay. Yeah, if it was heading towards Houston, then I'd be on top of this thing 24/7, because I'm at least 3 hours west of Houston and Austin. Whatever.
Activist says, what should I do on my barrier island west of Cape Canaveral?
Evacuate if you haven't already.
I don't think they're able to, they said earlier today, or something to that effect. If you're in a surge-prone area, you'll probably want to get as high in the building as possible. This isn't going to happen quickly, though. It's going to be this time tomorrow that the worst conditions are going to be starting to be felt in that area.
Yeah.
But you mustn't be the only one who is in that position.
Yeah.
Nathan, sorry, Hank. Just picking up on your point, Nathan. Brevard County, I believe that you can, a person can get sandbags, I should say, and across central Florida, so you can still access a supply of bags, and there is a minimum per person, but I'll update that later.
Okay. That's good to hear, David. Apparently, this is updated. I don't know why I'm getting this late, but I guess I'm getting it late. That's interesting notification down there. But yeah, if you're in Port Canaveral, like Nathan said, just get to an upper level of your building. Not too far up, at least, the second or third floor should be good. If their surge somehow reaches up to the second floor, just go up a floor and you should be good. And yeah, you would probably I guess, if you know what to do during a hurricane, just get into the interior parts of your house, then you have your whole hurricane kit ready, then you should be good to go. Hopefully, I would assume that you'd be okay. Though, really isn't all that much else to say.
Well, I've had a good discussion with this person in Florida about the system, and they're well prepared for it. They were just wanting to know when it's going to make landfall and things like that.
I was glad to see. There was, it was bittersweet when I heard that, the shelves at Walmart are running dry of supplies. It was good to hear that people were getting ready. It was bad because it's way too early and you didn't really know. But now, now that we pretty much have a pretty good idea that the system is going to ride up the east coast of Florida, then I'm glad that they did that early. So it's good to see. It's good to see that people are actually, getting ready for this. I don't really know what. No, Rob, it won't hit Montana.
Well, hey, I'm afraid to put a stop to the party, but it's time for us to leave. But the stream will continue to run during the nighttime hours. Obviously, we're coming up to midnight here on the US East Coast. What will happen is that there won't be any of us here anymore because we're all parting ways and resting up for tomorrow. But the chat room will remain open, so you can continue to converse, if you can call it that right now, in the chat room during the overnight hours. And the stream will be maintained by Jason's automated feed, I believe. Jason's apparently done something or other, our technical guy behind the scenes, and I've no idea what's going to appear after midnight. But we're going to be going off the air, at least talking-wise. But obviously the stream will continue, and we'll be back talking to you again at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time. We'll be back, and we'll be talking to you throughout the day until at least midnight Eastern Time tomorrow. So we'll be running for a whole 14 hours yet again, as we have done today. So guys, before we leave, is there anything you'd like to say in these last few minutes?
Definitely keep an eye on Matthew.
Sorry?
Definitely. Definitely keep a close eye on Matthew, just in case.
Oh yeah.
Like track shifts a little bit west or east or whatever. Just keep close attention on the Force 13 website and NHC for the latest on the storms and then other storms around the world. But Matthew is really a big threat for Florida and possibly Georgia and the Carolinas.
Yeah, you're right on there.
Obviously, the Bahamas right now need to be hunkering down as this thing's about to bear down on you and get very close to Nassau on the Bahamas. Definitely be hunkering down. It's basically too late now to do preparations right now, as it's probably getting dangerous to do so at the moment. But stay safe in the Bahamas, and Florida, really look out for this and pay attention to it and make sure you keep tabs on it. And that's really hard to say right now, you guys.
I have to say, thanks to every viewer that has viewed the streams since it began. And
Yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow.
we'll be back later tomorrow.
Well,
or later today.
we're here to provide the service, and that's what we're doing, what we will continue to do over the coming days whilst Matthew progresses towards Florida. We'll be here if you need us, I guess. Stay tuned. We'll be back at 10 o'clock. The stream will run, and until then, have a good night, and
Have a good night and stay
Stay
safe.
safe.
we hope you overcome the storm, depending, no matter what it does, as it heads towards Florida and the Bahamas, of course. We'll be tracking very close to Nassau throughout the night. We'll be back sometime soon, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll be back with full coverage. Until then, good night.
Night, guys.
Stay safe.
Night.